Hey everybody, it's 9 o'clock and 9 o'clock is with me, Father Warner. We are in Tuesday within the Easter of Octave, and I have been doing the Gospels this season of Eastertide. So we're going to look at John chapter 20 verse 11 to 18, but before that I must say that in case you'd like to have an explanation on Acts chapter 2 verse 36 to 41, just go to the description box and you'll find a link that will take you to my blog or to a video on YouTube that will help you understand the first reading of today. But for now we're looking at John chapter 20 verse 11 to 18, and I've entitled today's teaching, How Do You Know If Jesus Speaks to You? So let's read the text, 11 to 18 of the 20th chapter of John. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her. The Gospel of the Lord. So to go back to that question I asked, how do we know that God is really speaking to us? There are several times that I've heard the voice of God, of Jesus talking to me. I ask him a question in prayer and he gives me an answer. Ironically, this is always followed by doubt, which most certainly is sowed by Satan. You see, the first thing that Satan tries to do is to convince you and me, especially me, that this is not God's voice, this is not Jesus' voice, but it's my mind giving me the answers that I want to hear. And I'm sure this has been the experience of many people of faith and many of you who are watching and who have been speaking to Jesus in prayer. So here's the question we need to ask ourselves. How do you know if Jesus is actually speaking to you while you are praying? The first thing that must be said is that while it is possible that God could speak to just about anyone out of the blue, that possibility is also as slim as a blue moon. See, it is true that God spoke, say, for example, to Paul, who had consented to St. Stephen's murder, and then God threw him off his high horse. Yes, yet I must caution those who take comfort and hope that the same may apply to you. But for those who are in constant communion with God in prayer, his voice becomes easily discernible over time. Let me take you to the Gospel of John chapter 10 verse 27, not the text of today, but John 10:27. Jesus says, what does he say? He says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them and they follow me." To know the voice of Jesus, the sheep must first know the shepherd. Sadly, our shallow spiritual life may lead us to bits of information about the shepherd. We may know about him, but the question at hand is, do we know him? Mary of Magdala knew him personally, for she had shared in his ministry from the moment he touched her life till the moment his life ebbed out on the cross. He called her by name many times, and she knew her master's voice. You might ask, why then did she not recognize Jesus? From the Gospels, we know that the women were not looking for a resurrected man. They were looking for a dead man. This is why they came with spices. Spices were used to anoint the dead. Faith in the resurrection was something she heard the Lord speak of, like we do. But faith in his promise of the resurrection was yet perhaps to dawn on Mary Magdalene. Perhaps she did not recognize the Lord because we know that our resurrected bodies will not be what they are on earth. Mary perhaps did not recognize his resurrected form, or perhaps it was early in the day, while it was still dark, John chapter 20 verse 1, when street lights had not yet come to be installed. Or perhaps, as in the case of the two disciples on the road to the village of Emmaus in Luke chapter 24, we are told their eyes were kept from recognizing him until he explained how the Old Testament prophecies concerning the Messiah were fulfilled by him. So whatever be the case, what the eyes could not recognize, the ears picked up, and this sheep, Mary Magdalene, heard her master's voice. Jesus said just one word to her, and all was explained. She heard her name called out by a familiar and distinct voice, a voice she had heard so often. Instantly she called him Rabboni. You know, Jesus didn't reveal himself to Mary by telling her who he was. He revealed himself to her by telling her who she was to him. She was Mary, who will henceforth not just be a disciple, but will be elevated to an apostle. And let me explain this one. You see, in the Gospel of John, Mary is the first one to see the resurrected Lord. She tells the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." It was not Peter or John who entered the empty tomb and saw the Lord. Strangely, while the Gospel of John tells us that Peter and John entered the tomb and that John believed, nothing is said about Peter believing. We are then told that they went to their homes. And this almost seems like an anticlimax to the Easter narrative. They went to their homes. They entered the tomb, John and Peter, they saw, one believed, the other we don't know whether he believed, they just went home. So, now it falls upon a woman to pick up where the men stopped short. Mary now becomes the apostle to the apostles. You see, the very word apostle means one who is sent. She receives the Easter mandate to go and proclaim to the apostles. Her Easter proclamation is to the apostles, two of whom who were with her at the tomb and saw nothing. Now she has to give these apostles, these chosen ones by the Lord, a message from their Lord. And we know from the Gospels that they reduce the Easter message to idle tales. That's what they said of her message. You see, the first Easter proclamation, my dear friends, was rejected by the very people who should have been proclaiming it. If faith is faltering, I think you stand in good company. Don't give up on the Lord. The Lord has plans, and your wavering faith is part of his plan. Today I want to wish Martina from my former parish of St. Jude a very happy birthday. She's a simple, kind and a loving lady who serves the church in St. Jude's with such great devotion. God bless you, Martina, and have a very happy birthday. And to all of you, my dear friends, I want to continue to wish you the joys of the Easter season. Thank you for all your messages that you send me on Easter Sunday. I regret I wasn't able to answer all of them. Thank you for your love and for your support for the Children's Home in Goa, the Love, Joy, Hope Foundation. God bless you. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you tomorrow again. I'm really excited to teach you the scriptures because this week just talks to us about the Easter narratives, and each one is so beautiful. Bye for now.